Thomas Liu left me stranded on the roadside, all to please his lover. Soon after, I was involved in a horrific car accident. And just as I thought my life was slipping away, I saw something surreal, lines of glowing text floating across the night sky. The unforgettable first love has died, and now comes the tired trope of the stand-in being abused repeatedly. The saddest part is Alex. He still doesn't know that the one he's loved for so long was right beside him when she died. With the last of my strength, I dialed a number I never thought I would, Alex's, my sworn enemy. I didn't die. Instead, I woke up in Alex's care. He lifted my chin, a cold smirk tugging at the corners of his lips. "The day I die, Miss Lee," he said chillingly, "you're coming with me." The barrage of comments exploded again. He wants her buried with him? If that's not twisted love, what is? He's so hopelessly obsessed. Love? Love my ass. He clearly wants me dead. Then, without warning, Alex leaned down and kissed me. Thomas and I had a huge fight, and in the heat of it, he threw me out of the car and left me on the side of the road. The argument started because of that new intern at his company, Emily. People said she resembled me, only younger, softer, and more delicate. While we were still in the car, Thomas received a call from her. On the other end, she sobbed into the phone, her voice trembling as she claimed she had drunk too much and was now being harassed by men outside a bar. I turned my head toward Thomas and sneered, "If she's being harassed, why not call the police?" "Why call you?" Emily must have heard my voice through the phone. Through her sobs, she stammered, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you." Though Thomas and I had grown up together and were later forced into a business marriage by our families, our relationship had grown increasingly distant. We led separate lives and rarely interfered with each other. But for reasons I couldn't explain, I just couldn't stand Emily. Maybe I even hated her. Thomas called his assistant to pick her up, then glanced at me with disdain. "Why do you hate her so much? Are you jealous?" "I'm not jealous," I shot back. "I hate her because she—" My voice trailed off as something strange happened. Through the windshield, a glowing line of text floated across the sky, "Because she's a pretentious coquette." Was I hallucinating? A pretentious coquette? I scoffed. "I don't just hate her. I hate you too. If you don't make her disappear, then forget the marriage." A moment later, Thomas's assistant called back. "Mr. Liu, Miss Lin got drunk and wandered to the riverbank. It looks like she might jump." Instantly, memories of my father's mistress, always pretending to be on the verge of death, came flooding back, and my temper ignited. "If you go to her today, then we're done. The wedding is off." His brows knit tightly. His eyes darkened, he was on the verge of losing control. "So you want her dead now?" Click. The sound of the car door unlocking was sharp and cold. Thomas's voice was like ice. "Get out." Truthfully, I didn't want to share that car with him for even a second longer. I opened the door and stepped out. The sleek black Maybach vanished into the growing dusk. It was only then that I realized I'd been completely abandoned, in the desolate outskirts. I stood by the roadside, trying desperately to get a signal on my phone. Suddenly, a blinding light flashed from the side. A car sped toward me, and in the next second, slammed into me. I was thrown to the ground. My calf was crushed beneath the tire, and the searing pain of shattered bone overwhelmed my senses. The driver didn't even check on me. Afraid of getting into trouble, they sped off into the night. Blood pooled beneath me, soaking into the dirt. I clutched my phone tightly, gritting my teeth against the pain. At last, a single bar of signal appeared. Trembling, I called Thomas. The call connected, then was immediately cut off. This was the outskirts. The nearest hospital was at least an hour away. I probably wouldn't survive long enough for help to arrive. The sky darkened further. I curled up on the cold concrete, the metallic scent of blood filling my nose. I could feel it, life slipping out of my body, little by little. Just as I was about to dial emergency services, more floating words shimmered above me. By the time the ambulance arrived, she had already bled to death. So tragic. Joanna's story ends here. If Thomas knew that the call he just declined was her last cry for help, he'd regret it forever. Then again, maybe he won't. But he'll definitely end up resenting Emily for it. The unforgettable first love dies, the stand-in takes her place, cue the abuse, cue the melodrama. Poor Alex. He had no idea she was right there when she died. He'll go insane and become the villain. His ending won't be pretty. Stop. I can't bear to see Alex suffer like this. I blinked. Did I really just see Alex's name? Was he nearby? My survival instinct kicked in. I forced my trembling fingers to press one more number. Alex. The line connected almost immediately. His voice was cold. "Speak." I felt tears prick my eyes. "Despite everything between us, he answered. "My car accident. I'm dying, please, help me," I croaked. A pause. Then, where are you? I gave him the location but didn't hang up. I couldn't. The pain was too much. I had no more words left in me. Even through my fading consciousness, I could hear his voice, calm, low, and reassuring. Don't be afraid. Strange, in all our years of rivalry and betrayal, he had never spoken so gently to me. But in that moment, he felt like the only person in the world I could trust. The moon broke through the clouds, casting pale light across the ground. The wind was bitter. My body temperature plummeted as my blood continued to seep out. I shivered violently, my vision blurred by blood and exhaustion. And then, I saw him. Alex. He rushed toward me in a panic. Just before the world slipped into darkness, the floating words returned one last time. Wait, she's still alive? What now? How does the stand-in take her place if the first love survives? Why does this suddenly feel different? Is the plot changing? No. I think I'm starting to ship these two. During the 2 weeks I spent in a coma, I began to slowly understand what had happened. The glowing words I kept seeing floating through the air, they were called barrages. From them, I pieced together a horrifying truth. I was the unforgettable first love who died young, in a stand-in romance novel. Thomas was the male lead. Emily, the woman who looked like me but younger and softer, was the female lead. After my death, she stepped into my place, and their torturous love story began. I'd assumed Thomas had long since stopped caring about me. But apparently, I was wrong. He never truly let go. My death haunted him. And that haunting gave rise to his complicated, bitter love for Emily. Honestly, I found the entire plot revolting. Even in death, I didn't get peace, I simply became a painful memory fueling a tragic romance between the leads. Then, the day I finally opened my eyes, the barrage went wild. Joanna's awake? She really survived? Obviously. Alex spent a fortune hiring the top doctors in South City. He watched over her non-stop, of course she wasn't going to die. Meanwhile, Thomas thinks she just ran off to throw a tantrum. He's still clinging to Emily, waiting for Joanna to come crawling back. Ugh, not this again. Please don't let her wake up and start fighting with Emily over the male lead. This plot is already cliché. My fingers twitched. Almost immediately, Alex, who had been lying by my bedside, opened his eyes. He stared at me in stunned silence for a second, then quickly called for the doctor. While they checked my condition, he remained nearby, eyes fixed on me. Only when the doctor gave his full report did Alex finally approach me again. It was then that I noticed the dark circles under his eyes, so he really had been watching over me, day and night. He looked down at me, expression unreadable. "Why did you call me?" he asked. I didn't know how to explain it. My throat was dry, my voice hoarse. I just dialed randomly, I whispered. "Thank you for saving me." His dark eyes remained as cold as ever, void of warmth. "You're stable now," he replied curtly. "Call your fiancé. Have him come pick you up." "Alex," I murmured, "maybe we could be friends?" He stood there, backlit by the sunlight, his tall figure casting long shadows across the room. His voice turned mocking, "Being friends with Miss Lee costs tens of billions." Alex had clawed his way up from nothing. No background. No safety net. Only ruthless ambition. He was infamous in the business world for his aggressive, merciless tactics. 3 years ago, he'd stolen 2 major projects from Thomas. To retaliate, I approached him on purpose, got close to him, lowered his guard. Then, together with Thomas, I helped snatch away his most critical business deal. He lost billions because of me. Maybe those billions meant little to the Alex of today, but back then, it nearly destroyed him. The last time we met, he grabbed my face and said coldly, "Next time we meet, Miss Lee, I'll kill you myself." But this time, not only did he not kill me, he saved my life. I watched him turn to leave and whispered quietly to myself, "He probably won't speak to me ever again." At that moment, a comment floated across the air, "Try calling him husband, see if he'll respond." I blinked, stunned, then, almost reflexively, murmured, "Husband." Alex froze in the doorway. His whole body tensed. He'd heard it. My face flushed bright red as I saw the barrage explode in real time. I wanted nothing more than to disappear into the blankets. Alex slowly turned around. "Did you hit your head?" he asked, deadpan. I buried myself deeper under the covers, peeking at him through a tiny gap. Thanks to the barrage, I now knew something else. Emily was the daughter of the woman my father had cheated with. After I died, my father officially recognized Emily as his new daughter. According to the plot, she would soon marry Thomas in my place. My own death didn't seem to sadden him much. He had already moved on to his replacement daughter. But back then, he had begged me to marry into the Liu family, so he could save his company. Clearly, I would never matter more than his business interests. So instead of going back to be used as a pawn again, I figured, why not just pretend to be mentally unwell? I sat up and looked at Alex. Back then, my dad forced me to marry you to pay off his debts. Even if it was a business arrangement, you didn't have to treat me so coldly. We could have, at least been friends. The night was heavy and still. Alex stood in the dark, half hidden by shadows. His gaze was deep and unreadable. I coughed lightly. Alex. I want some water. He walked over to the table, poured a glass, then gently helped me sit up, taking care not to disturb the four in my hand. He held the glass to my lips, feeding me slowly. If I find out you're lying to me again, he said softly, I really will kill you. His voice was low and quiet, but terrifyingly serious. The rim of the cup trembled in my hands. I took small, slow sips. A shiver ran through me. Then the barrage reappeared. Oh, please. You were practically crying when you saw her hand was swollen from the four. Who are you trying to scare? Pfft. He probably just wants to kill her, in bed. Hey, keep it PG. This isn't some wild fanfic. I choked on the water and started coughing. Alex quickly set the glass down and patted my back gently, letting out a soft laugh. Slow down. Your whole face is red. Once I calmed down, he tucked the blanket around me again and sat quietly at my bedside. He reached out, gently brushing the hair from my forehead, then felt my temperature with his palm. Did you just say your brain is broken? He asked calmly. I shrank back under the blanket, too scared to respond. The faint smile disappeared from his lips. He picked up his phone and said into it, tomorrow, bring in the best neurologist. We need to confirm whether Mrs. Chen's brain is truly damaged. Wait, what did he just say? Mrs. Chen? Is this turning into a forced marriage plot? Of course it is. He is the crazy villain, after all. I love it. I was completely stunned. All I wanted was to play dumb for a while and avoid the wedding to Thomas. But now it seemed like I'd accidentally provoked a far more dangerous man. If I'd known it would turn out like this, I might have just stayed dead. I turned my head, trying to dodge Alex's gaze. There's no relationship between us, I said. We agreed before the engagement, this marriage is purely business. We'd stay out of each other's lives. Alex narrowed his eyes slightly. Joanna, do you know what kind of person I am? I shrank back. A good person? In the dark, his face looked cold and severe, honestly terrifying. But I was so tired. My body ached. My eyelids grew heavy. The moment I closed my eyes, sleep took me. In the hazy blur between waking and dreaming, I caught a faint scent, cool, woody, lingering at the edge of my senses. It disappeared just as quickly as it came. And then the barrage returned. Just 0.1 centimeters more and he stopped. Alex, aren't you supposed to be the crazy villain? How are you this pure-hearted? Seriously, what kind of villain doesn't even dare steal a kiss? The doctor told me that after the accident, I might experience some confusion or memory lapses. Mistaking people was normal, and things would likely improve with time. But what Alex was thinking, I had no idea. He never once denied being my fiancé. In fact, he visited me every single day. The barrage of comments offered a theory. He was simply playing along to avoid upsetting me, hoping it would aid my recovery. As if the last sliver of kindness he possessed in this world had been reserved entirely for me. And yet, I knew my own temperament well, spoiled, volatile, and difficult. Thomas couldn't stand me because of it. So, logically, Alex shouldn't be able to tolerate me either. 2 days ago, I threw a tantrum at the hospital. Instead of lashing out or scolding me, Alex quietly brought me home. Ever since he learned that my brain might be damaged, his usual cold demeanor had mellowed. No matter how unreasonable I acted, he didn't get angry. At one point, even his assistant whispered that perhaps he was the one who'd lost his mind. Spring passed quickly, and early summer crept in. Golden sunlight streamed through the blinds, and even the breeze seemed tinged with warmth. After weeks of treatment, my injured leg had finally healed enough to walk. Alex sat beside my bed, peeling an apple slowly and meticulously. The light shimmered across his messy hair, and when he looked up, the sun caught his dark eyes, making them seem almost warm. I stared at him, momentarily dazed. Then I blinked, took the apple from his hand, took a bite, and tossed it on the floor. Tasteless. Alex's brows furrowed slightly, a flicker of impatience crossing his usually expressionless face. Of course. Someone like me, spoiled to the core, was unbearable to most. In the 2 months I'd been gone, neither my father nor Thomas had bothered to look for me. Why would Alex be any different? Maybe it was better if he realized sooner what kind of person I really was. But instead of reacting in anger, Alex stood up. He picked the apple up off the floor, rinsed it under the hot water kettle, and bit into it without hesitation. His dark eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at me. There was a faint trace of danger in his expression. I shrank back instantly and mumbled, I already bit that. A smile curved at the corner of his lips. Miss Lee has never gone hungry, so she doesn't understand the value of food. It was the first time in a long while he'd spoken to me with even a hint of anger. After finishing the apple, he left for the office. Alex had built his empire from nothing. Every day, he was busy beyond reason. Even during my recovery, although he came to see me daily, we never spent much time together. Most of what I knew about him came from the barrage. Alex hates wasting food. If Joanna keeps acting like this, he's bound to hate her eventually. I narrowed my eyes at the floating comment. So if I keep acting spoiled, Alex might finally hate me? Good. That might be for the best. My leg had healed. I was almost ready. Soon, I could return and settle scores with the people who'd abandoned me. But the barrage continued, this time darker, heavier. Alex has been an orphan since childhood. He once fought off stray dogs just to protect his food. At 14, he was already in underground boxing rings, getting beaten half to death for a hot meal. Even after Joanna died, Alex was the only one who remembered her. But someone as selfish and heartless as Joanna never deserved the obsession he showed avenging her. 3 years ago, she casually told him to meet her for strawberry souffle, then stole his business and vanished. He waited for her all day. In the rain. She doesn't deserve him. That night, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. I had already planned to cancel the partnership with the Liu family once I returned. By doing so, the business opportunities in the new city would naturally fall into Alex's hands. As long as the Lees and Lius didn't join forces, Alex would be unmatched in South City. So how could they say I was heartless? Staring at the barrage of accusations, my chest tightened. I sat up abruptly in the dark, letting out a long, bitter sigh. Maybe I really do deserve to die. I climbed out of bed slowly, grabbing the crutch beside me for support. The house was silent. I limped toward the kitchen. Switching on the lights, I opened the fridge and began pulling out ingredients. I've always been picky with food, so the fridge was well stocked. Making a strawberry souffle was no trouble at all. I beat the batter, whipped the cream, piped everything together, and finally placed fresh strawberries on top. As I stared at the delicate, glistening dessert, I let out a quiet scoff. Let's see who still dares to say I don't deserve Alex. Were you calling me? My body froze. I turned my head slowly to see Alex leaning lazily against the doorway, arms crossed. I had no idea how long he'd been standing there. But the barrage quickly answered that for me. He's been watching her since she walked into the kitchen. She was too focused to notice. I scowled. What are you, a ghost? Standing behind people without making a sound? He stepped into the kitchen, a faint smile tugging at his lips. If you were hungry, why didn't you ask someone to bring food? Why sneak in here alone, this late? I shoved the plate toward him. I made it for you. Then instantly regretted my words and clamped my mouth shut. Alex paused, tilting his head as he studied me. Miss Lee has finally regained her memory, and stopped calling me husband? I only said it once, I muttered, lips tightening. And I wasn't calling you. His smile faded. Then who were you calling? Instinctively, I stepped back, only to lose my balance. Before I could fall, Alex reached out and caught me by the waist, lifting me effortlessly onto the kitchen island. Don't move, he murmured close to my ear, his voice deep and low, almost intoxicating. I swallowed hard, my breath quickening. He placed one hand on the counter beside me, leaning slightly as his gaze shifted to the plate. You made this, for me? I gave a faint nod. But I don't like sweets. Then throw it away. Or give it to the dog, I added. He picked up a spoon and took a bite. A rare, slow smile spread across his face. Not bad. Then he held the spoon out to me. Taste it. Pink comments floated rapidly through the air. The vibe is getting way too intimate. Oh my god, he's feeding her. Help. Why am I blushing? I turned my head slightly. I don't eat sweets at night. I'll gain weight. Alex caught my chin, forcing me to face him. If you don't eat it, I'll assume you poisoned it, he said with a half smile, a strange glint flickering in his eyes. I'm not going down alone. Reluctantly, I took a bite from the spoon and glared at him. Dog. He only laughed and continued eating, spooning small bites into my mouth between his own. The scent of sugar and cream filled the air. The souffle was soon gone. Even though it was just the two of us in the kitchen, the non-stop barrage made me feel like we were being watched. I jumped off the counter quickly. My mind blanked for a second, I completely forgot about my injured leg. Pain shot through me. I stumbled forward, grabbing onto Alex's robe to steady myself. My hand yanked it open. And then? I froze. My face landed against his bare chest, firm and warm, his skin still marked with faint scars. A bit of cream from my lips smeared against him. I stood there, paralyzed, mortified. Joanna, his voice came from above, cool and amused, what exactly are you trying to do? I looked up into his deep, unreadable gaze, just as the barrage vanished. All of it. Only one comment lingered: censorship won't allow descriptions below the neck. Sorry, readers. So, they couldn't see this part? I cleared my throat and murmured, I just want to go back to sleep. Your leg's injured, he said. Don't move around. Before I could respond, he scooped me up effortlessly. That familiar woody scent enveloped me. My fingers clenched his shoulders instinctively. He glanced down. Are you a cat? I quickly released him and placed my hands awkwardly on his chest. That didn't feel right either. Alex chuckled as he carried me toward the bedroom. If your brain's fully recovered, he said softly, then tell me, how should I deal with you? I blinked up at him with wide, innocent eyes. I don't know what you mean, hubby. His steps faltered. His eyes darkened. Does Miss Lee think I built my empire by being easy to fool? This man was getting harder and harder to manipulate. He set me gently down on the bed. I looped my arms around his neck and kissed him lightly on the cheek. His whole body tensed. His expression froze. Blushing, I whispered, good night. The next morning, I was jolted awake by the shrill ringing of my phone. Eyes still closed, I fumbled beneath my pillow until my fingers brushed against the vibrating device. Secretary Wang's familiar voice came through the speaker. Miss Lee, yesterday Mr. Thomas asked me about your whereabouts. Only Secretary Wang had access to my current private number. I rubbed the sleep from my eyes and muttered, what did you tell him? I said you'd gone to Europe on business and wouldn't be back for a while. I murmured, turning over. Well, the wedding's next month. I'm not planning on going back anyway. He can marry whoever he likes. Sister Wang, you were right, I continued. Even if it's a marriage of convenience, I can't just settle for a trashy man. I see things clearly now. My gaze drifted to the ceiling as Thomas's words echoed in my memory, how he once said meeting Emily felt refreshing. I hadn't understood what he meant at the time. But after seeing Alex again, I had to admit, that sense of novelty? It was real. And strangely, intriguing. Just as the words left my lips, I met a pair of dark, unreadable eyes in the corner of the room. I froze. Alex. My mind went blank as a wave of icy panic crashed through me. I hurriedly ended the call and shoved my phone behind me. My voice trembled. Why are you here? The barrage on the screen flared up instantly. Why is he still wearing the same robe as last night? Did he stay the whole night? Wait, what happened after she pulled his robe open? Don't tell me my premium membership missed something. I forced myself to stay calm, but I couldn't. Alex had clearly been here all night, which meant he heard every word of my call with Secretary Wang. I was so screwed. He sat up, propping his head in one hand, and said casually, I spent the night thinking about why you kissed me. Before I knew it, the sun was up. Who the hell thinks about a kiss all night? He's either insane or hopelessly obsessed. Alex is both scary and weirdly adorable. I hate that I love this. I tried to slow my breathing, but nothing could stop the dread rising inside me. Alex stood and walked toward me, a cold smirk tugging at his lips. At first, I didn't understand. But after hearing your little phone call, everything makes sense now. His hand clamped around my wrist, his grip tight and unrelenting. Joanna, he said darkly, so all this time, you've just been playing with me. Veins bulged at his temples, he was genuinely furious. His fingers dug into my skin, and I let out a quiet gasp of pain. At that, his expression faltered slightly, and he released me. I clutched my wrist, too afraid to look at him. My voice came out as a whisper. My head seemed to clear up last night. He laughed coldly. So when you called me husband last night, you were fully aware of what you were doing? I met his gaze, eyes brimming with unshed tears. I didn't mean. He reached out, his rough fingertip brushing the corner of my eye. With his other hand, he gently massaged my sore wrist. That won't do, he said in a low voice. You don't get to walk away mid-game. If you try, I might just retaliate. Before I could speak, he suddenly leaned down and bit down hard between my thumb and forefinger. You dog. I hissed, wincing. But instead of getting angry, he lowered his gaze, the corner of his mouth lifting in a quiet laugh. Wait, is he into this? What a sicko, but I'm not complaining. Suddenly, my phone rang again. Before I could even move, Alex snatched it from behind me and answered. Thomas's voice came through immediately. Joanna, our wedding's next month. Where the hell have you gone? He must have gotten Secretary Wang's phone. Alex's expression darkened. I reached out to grab the phone, but he stepped back, causing me to stumble forward, straight into his chest. His large hand wrapped around mine, warm and firm. I mouthed silently, I don't want to marry him. Don't let him find me. Alex's eyes flickered, something in them shifting. Then Thomas's voice came again, sharper this time. I know you're trying to run away. But even if you disappear, the Lee family still has another daughter. The marriage will happen, with or without you. Alex narrowed his eyes, playing with my fingers lazily as he said, her brain's broken. So no, she won't be marrying you. There was a beat of silence. Who are you? Why do you have Joanna's phone? Where is she? Alex glanced down at me and smiled faintly. She's right here, in my hands. He tightened his arms around me, not rough, but firm. His cool, woodsy scent enveloped me. I was too stunned to move. Joanna, Thomas growled through the phone. Alex didn't let him finish. He hung up and tossed the phone aside. Then, with a gentleness that completely contradicted his previous coldness, he brushed the hair from my forehead and asked quietly, "Want to get back at your dear fiancé?" I stared at him blankly. My mind had stopped functioning entirely. Only when the barrage exploded again did I realize, I had nodded. God, is there something wrong with me? Alex's fingers traced from my ear, down my cheek, and finally rested on my lips. His voice was deep, alluring, restrained. Relax. That only made me more anxious. Especially since the barrage didn't disappear like it had the night before. I'm gonna lose it. Is this really happening right now? After working all day, this is the reward I deserve. I squeezed my eyes shut, then opened them again. I couldn't, knowing people were watching like this. I parted my lips, ready to speak, when a knock at the door interrupted everything. Alex immediately stepped away. His assistant entered with a document in hand. "Mr. Chen, this needs your urgent signature." Alex took it, his expression calm again, but I noticed the way his eyes darkened slightly, suppressing something. No. No way. That's it? I was this close to watching a scene unfold. I exhaled in relief, glancing up at him. He met my gaze. Handing the document back to his assistant, he leaned down beside me and whispered in my ear, "I'm busy today, but I'll come find you tonight." My brain short-circuited. "Do you ever sleep?" He chuckled. "Then you'd better be clean and ready for me tonight." Oh my God. It's happening. Full speed ahead. I swear, this unhinged heroine ex-villain trope is my new religion. I sat there, stunned, watching his retreating figure. And suddenly, it hit me. He had completely, thoroughly, misunderstood. That evening, the maid helped me take a bath. I wasn't sure if it was Alex's idea, but even the body wash had a delicate floral scent, soft and oddly calming. I waited for him the entire night, nerves twisting in my chest. But he never came. I sat by the window, curled up on the sofa with a book in hand, and eventually dozed off. A loud bang startled me awake. My eyes flew open. Alex stood at the door, one hand in his pocket, expression dark and unreadable. "Did you sleep well, Miss Lee?" he asked flatly. He only called me that when he was angry. Tilting my head, I looked at him warily. What happened? The bedside lamp cast a cold, heavy light over his features. He said nothing for a long moment, just stood there, eyes locked on me. "I lost a deal today. Just like 3 years ago, because of a leak." His voice dropped, laced with bitter irony. "It wasn't me this time," I said quickly. Alex stepped closer, his fingers tightening around my wrist. "I saved your life, and you're still plotting behind my back? Do you even have a heart?" His tone was glacial, every word a blade. Before I could respond, he pushed me back onto the sofa, his cold breath inches from my face. My heart thudded. "Alex, what are you trying to do?" He grabbed my chin, a chilling smirk curling on his lips. "I didn't get to where I am without stepping over people. If the day comes that I fall, I'll drag you down with me." Wait, is he saying he wants her buried with him? That's either love or murder. He's so obsessed. This can't be healthy, but it's hot. My thoughts spiraled. He's going to kill me. Another comment scrolled past, classic tragic romance setup. All misunderstandings, no communication. Just confess, damn it. I calmed myself and looked up. "I told you, it wasn't me. You should check your own company. There's probably a mole." I hesitated, then added softly, "Besides, I've started to like you. I wouldn't hurt you." Alex froze. Wait, did she just confess for real? LMAO doesn't matter, male leads never believe it anyway. But he just stared at me, and then slowly smiled. "Even if you're lying, Joanna? I'll take it." And with a strange excitement in his eyes, he leaned in and bit my earlobe. Okay, this is love. That's it. I'm convinced." "You crazy," I started, but he cut me off with a bruising kiss. The room dimmed, the barrage of comments fading into silence. All I could hear was the sharp, uneven rhythm of our breathing. His hand cradled the back of my head, the other interlaced our fingers tightly. The floral scent from the terrace mixed with the musky, smoky notes of his cologne, wrapping around me. His breath grew heavier, slowly stealing mine. I was gasping by the time he finally pulled away. He wiped the corner of his mouth where a faint smear of blood remained and gave me a slow, wicked smile. "So you bite too," he whispered hoarsely. "Just like me." Then, his eyes narrowed, mischief glinting. Almost forgot, you've been waiting for me to sleep, haven't you? Before I could react, he scooped me into his arms and tossed me onto the bed. In the next moment, his arms circled around my waist, locking me against him. Sleep, he murmured. I stared at him, stunned. He pinched my waist lightly. Your leg's still injured. I'm not a monster. What? Disappointed but speechless, I shut my eyes in a hurry. Turns out, Alex wasn't just a romantic lunatic, he could be surprisingly rational. After confiscating my phone, he began digging into the leak himself. It didn't take long before he uncovered the truth. The culprit was one of his own trusted subordinates, bought out by the Liu family. The day I was cleared, he returned my phone. As soon as I turned it on, it exploded with missed calls and messages. All from Thomas. As the wedding date drew near, he was clearly starting to panic. I'm sorry, Alex said quietly. I jumped to conclusions. I stared at my screen, expression blank. With my record, it's natural you'd suspect me. I'd suspect me too. He was silent for a moment. Still. I took your phone and didn't let you go out. I frowned. My leg's injured. The doctor told me to rest. Where exactly was I supposed to go? He chuckled softly, surprisingly gentle. Then let me make it up to you. I looked up just in time to see the screen fill with new comments. Wait, are they being reasonable? Meanwhile, Thomas is screaming, Joanna, in his sleep, and Emily's already packed her bags. 18-chapter drama incoming. I want to go to the wedding tomorrow, I said. The comments exploded. Aha. Plot twist. This train was moving too smoothly. Alex is about to snap. Bring out the chains, the blindfolds, and the moral ambiguity. Sensing something in the air, I started to explain, but Alex beat me to it. All right. I exhaled, relieved. See? Alex wasn't as terrifying as everyone made him out to be. But then, his faint smile faded. His eyes grew cold again, possessive, unreadable. I got an invitation too, he said softly. But I seem to be missing a date. Oh God. It's happening. Buckle up. Before bed, Alex surprised me by offering to massage my leg. His usual aura was feral, wild like a stray dog. But tonight, he was oddly gentle. He must have felt guilty for doubting me. He knelt on the floor, hands carefully tending to my ankle. I smiled down at him. It felt right. Like he owed me this. He glanced up, his tone a little sharp. Why are you smiling like that? Like a sly little fox. You're the fox. Your whole family's full of foxes, I snapped back. His gaze lingered on my leg, dimming for a second. Is it better? I nodded. The doctor said it's almost fully healed. There was a pause, then he asked, didn't you say, you liked me? That. I had said it, in a desperate attempt to survive. Panicking, I tried to pull my leg away. If you believe that just because I said it, then you're not as smart as I thought. Immediately, the barrage came alive. Joanna always talks tough, but her face is beet red. Sis, your ears are literally glowing. If you don't like him, then I'm a dog. Alex's gaze fell to my ears, which were no doubt flushed. He laughed, then suddenly grabbed my chin and kissed me. It was short, but firm. When he pulled back, his eyes searched mine. That thing we didn't finish last time, he whispered. Let's finish it now. I blinked, confused. Then he pinned me down, and the barrage of comments vanished completely. Only then did I understand. His lips found the curve of my neck. He leaned back, just enough to study my expression. The room lights were off, and silver moonlight poured in, softening his sharp features. He looked devastating. I could hear the pounding of my heart. Are you scared? He murmured. Who's scared? I panted, shoving at him. Alex, you bastard. When I said sleep, this wasn't what I meant. He held down my hands, the heat of his body seeping into mine. Save your strength, he said with a wicked grin. You'll need it to curse me later. He kissed me again, hard, swallowing every protest. His fingers tangled in my hair, trailed down my arm, caught my struggling hand, and just like that, I was dragged into the depths of the night by him. When I opened my eyes the next morning, every part of my body ached, as if I'd been completely dismantled and put back together. Alex had one arm wrapped tightly around my waist, the other pulling the blanket up to cover me again. And right on cue, the screen lit up with a barrage of chaotic comments. My cheeks burned. Mortified, I yanked the blanket off him. That's when I saw the faint scratch marks across his well-toned abs. Silence. Even the comments disappeared. Alex raised an eyebrow. Are you actually embarrassed? I didn't answer. Instead, I reached for his watch, carelessly left on the pillow, glanced at the time, and then tossed it onto his chest. The wedding's already over. Didn't you promise to take me there? Amusement sparkled in his dark eyes. Didn't Thomas already say he was going to marry someone else? Why should I take you there and ruin a perfect plan? So that was it. No wonder he'd kept me occupied all night, flipping me over again and again. I kicked him. I was going there to settle the score. And now it's too late. What am I supposed to do? He caught my foot midair and smiled, completely unfazed. Your leg just recovered. Don't strain it. Then he added lazily, there's still the banquet tonight at your house. I'll take you there. Oh, right, there was a post-wedding banquet to thank the guests. I tried to get out of bed, but my legs gave out beneath me. I collapsed back onto the mattress, sore and helpless. Flashes of last night's chaos played through my mind. I resisted the urge to kick him again. Instead, I glared at him, lifted my foot, and said through clenched teeth, put my shoes on. Alex crouched down and obediently slipped my shoes onto my feet. I reached out and brushed off a downy feather from his black hair. He chuckled. Joanna, are you petting a dog? I nodded seriously. This dog is surprisingly well behaved. The moment I returned to the Lee household, everyone stared at me like they'd seen a ghost. Didn't she run away from the wedding? What's she doing back? Obviously she regrets it. Too late now, Thomas is already married to Emily. Thomas, wine glass in hand, caught sight of me. He froze, then stumbled through the crowd, nearly tripping over himself as he rushed over. Joanna, what are you doing here? Regret it already? He leaned in, eyes swimming with emotion. If you apologize now, I'll divorce her. I'll marry you instead. I've always loved you, he went on. I only married Emily to make you jealous. He was clearly drunk, and apparently, alcohol loosened his tongue enough to start spilling the truth. At least, according to the floating comments. Even though he'd married Emily, I was still his irreplaceable first love. But he seemed to have forgotten, I wasn't just not good. I was downright awful. I raised my glass, offered him a faint smile, and said, I'm not here for anything else. Just wanted to wish you well. I hope you and Emily have a long, happy life together. His expression faltered. That's not what you really mean, right? Of course not. What I really wanted was to curse him to oblivion. He's married now, and still looking at me like that? Disgusting. I brushed past him, not bothering to reply. He tried to grab my wrist. I dodged him, and tossed the wine in my glass right into his face. Don't touch me. Get lost. But before I could turn away, a second glass of wine splashed across my dress. I looked up to see Emily standing in front of Thomas, lips quivering, eyes full of fragile innocence. Miss Lee, she said timidly. If you're here to stir up trouble, I'll have to ask you to leave. This is my home now. My home? Now? Of course, the female lead always says this kind of shameless thing with such confidence. She made me look like the bitter ex trying to ruin their perfect romance. I gave a cold laugh. Let's see how long you can stay, I said, brushing past her and heading upstairs. Back in my old bedroom, I picked a dress from the closet and changed into it. As I fumbled with the zipper, more comments floated past. She's clearly the villainess now. Sowing chaos, causing drama, doomed to fall. If I wanted to change my fate, I was supposed to cozy up to Thomas and become best friends with Emily? What a joke. The very thought made me sick. I'd rather play the villain to the bitter end than fake a smile for that kind of redemption arc. But right now, my zipper wouldn't budge. I muttered under my breath. Damn Alex. He knew I was injured and couldn't exercise, yet kept stuffing me with food every day. No wonder I was gaining weight. Just then, the door creaked open behind me, and someone tugged the zipper upward. I sighed, thinking it was Aunt Lou. Pull harder, I said. A soft chuckle echoed behind me. What's this? Was Miss Lee not satisfied with last night's service? The zipper was pulled back down. Warm kisses landed along my spine, a soft breath brushing my neck. The floating comments vanished. My breath hitched. I turned, and froze. Alex. How did you even get up here? I gasped. There are so many people outside. I climbed the wall, he said casually. No one saw. How could he say something so shameless so easily? There are even more shameless things I haven't done yet, he added smoothly. Before I could react, he spun me around and lifted me onto the jewelry cabinet, fingers cupping my chin as he kissed me, hard. Something was wrong. His kiss wasn't just passionate, it was possessive. Fierce. Almost desperate. I pounded his chest to break free. He finally let go, hands braced on either side of me, locking me in. The scent of alcohol hung in the air between us. His gaze was intense, dark with raw jealousy. I caught my breath and glared. What the hell is wrong with you? Don't take your drunken rage out on me. His eyes flashed. If I wasn't drunk, he said coldly, I'd be out there right now gouging out Thomas's eyes. He's married and still dares to look at you like that? He really did sound like a proper villain. I tugged at his tie. Keep acting like this, and you'll meet a bad end. He smiled, slowly removing his watch. Then I'll take you with me when I go. Bastard, I started. But he silenced me with another bruising kiss, swallowing every word before it could leave my lips. After half an hour of chaos, Alex finally climbed out the window and left. I changed into a fresh outfit and sat before the vanity, carefully covering the evidence of what had just happened between us. As I walked downstairs, my legs were still unsteady. The moment I stepped into the hall, dozens of eyes turned to me. Alex stood confidently among the crowd, wearing a finely tailored suit and gold-rimmed glasses. He looked every bit the elegant scoundrel. I quickly looked away, but just as I reached the last step, my father suddenly blocked my path. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. "Trying to ruin the alliance between the Liu and Li families?" I met his gaze coldly. "I've been missing for so long, and you never even tried to find me. In the meantime, you publicly recognized a new daughter and arranged for her to marry Thomas, turning the Li family into a joke across South City." No sooner had the words left my mouth than a sharp smack echoed through the room. My father had slapped me. My head snapped to the side, the metallic taste of blood blooming in my mouth. The entire hall went dead silent. Alex's expression darkened, but I stopped him with just a glance. My father pointed at me furiously. "You ungrateful girl, get out of my sight." I had always obeyed him. Never once had I contradicted him in public. But now? I straightened my spine. "This is my home," I said slowly. "And from today onward," I sneered, "Li Corporation belongs to me." Secretary Wong hurried to my side, handing me a folder. I signed the document inside and tossed it at my father's feet. "You always said Li Corporation was your life's work. For years, I let you keep the title out of respect. But you seem to forget, it wasn't just your company. My mother built it with you. She owned a major share." I paused, letting it sink in. "What you didn't know was, before she died, my mother secretly acquired even more shares. And she left them all to me. I now hold the largest stake in Li Corporation. There will be a board meeting tomorrow. I expect you to attend." My father stood there frozen, unable to respond. I turned my gaze to the woman standing behind him, a middle-aged lady in a silk cheapao. Emily's mother. My father's first love. The one he never forgot, even after marrying my mother. If I had really died in that car crash, everything that once belonged to my mother and me would have ended up in their hands. What a joke. I walked past them and faced Thomas's parents. "Once I take control of Li Corporation, we'll be cutting all ties with the Liu family. Must have been tough for you to pull off such an elaborate bride swap today." Mr. Liu's face turned a shade paler. "You're severing ties with the Liu family? Who in South City would dare work with you then?" "I would." Alex's voice rang out clearly. Mr. Liu looked from Alex to me, sneering. "Everyone in South City knows Alex is ruthless. You'd really give up the Liu family, for him?" "If you're willing," he added quickly, "we can annul today's wedding. It's not too late to bring you into the Liu family." I smiled. "Now I see why the Liu family's business is so successful. You're not ashamed to say anything, Chairman Liu." Alex strolled toward me, tilting his head. "And Miss Li doesn't find that disgusting?" I was caught off guard by his bluntness. He smirked coldly. "Since you're not in the habit of picking up trash, why stay here?" I almost laughed out loud. His sharp tongue really had no rival. Meanwhile, Thomas had been silently watching me the whole time. He murmured something under his breath. It wasn't until I caught the floating comments that I realized what he was saying. "No one will ever love you the way I do. If you insist on throwing yourself into the fire, don't expect me to care anymore." No wonder Emily, standing next to him, was crying in frustration. Without sparing him another glance, I turned and walked out with Alex. As we stepped outside, my heel suddenly gave way. Pain shot through my ankle. I winced, looking at Alex's retreating back. "Why are you walking so fast?" I muttered under my breath. He stopped, turned around, and squatted in front of me. "I'll carry you." Gasps erupted inside the hall. From the scrolling comments, I realized it wasn't the intimacy that shocked them. Our social circle was no stranger to scandal. What stunned them was that Alex Chen, of all people, actually listened to me. I stared at him, still in a daze. "What are you doing?" He glanced over his shoulder and smiled. "Miss, how long are you going to make me stay like this? Get on." I bit my lip and climbed onto his back. And just like that, he carried me away. Alex walked steadily toward the parked car with me on his back, moonlight casting soft shadows around us. In the quiet, he spoke. "Oh, by the way, I've got some good news. They found the guy who hit you. He crashed his car while speeding." "Did he die?" "No." "Then what's the good news?" "He went off a cliff during a police chase. Now he's in worse shape than death. If he makes it out alive, he'll probably spend the rest of his life in prison." Knowing Alex, I doubted that crash was a coincidence. He was the type to repay every slight. An eye for an eye. I tightened my arms around his neck and whispered, "If I had your kind of personality, maybe I wouldn't have been pushed around so much." He paused for a beat. "You're fine just the way you are," he said. "Let me handle those things." I lowered my head. A tear slipped down and landed on the back of his neck. He gently set me down in the passenger seat, then took off his glasses. His warm hand brushed lightly against my swollen cheek. "Does it still hurt?" he asked softly. I sniffled. "You've done so much for me, but I haven't done anything for you. I don't deserve this." He smiled faintly. "Well then." His knuckles traced my cheek. "Make me a few more meals. I really like them." I stared at him, stunned, and nodded. He started the car, driving gently as always. Ever since the accident, he was cautious behind the wheel. The night was silent, the only sound the hum of the engine. Floating comments danced before my eyes. Was Alex just asking Joanna to marry him? Why didn't he say it out loud? He's afraid she'll reject him. He knows she might just be using him, and he's still falling for her anyway. This is pure, hopeless romanticism. I'm obsessed. In the quiet cabin, I could hear it clearly. The sound of my heart, beating faster and faster. To be honest, I still wasn't entirely sure what kind of relationship I had with Alex. In the business world, we had gone from sworn enemies to trusted partners almost overnight. And not just surface-level allies, there was real trust between us. The contract I had Secretary Wang send over was combed through meticulously by Alex's deputy, Vice President Lee. He even had the legal team analyze every line, as if convinced I had embedded a trap somewhere in the fine print. But Alex? He didn't even glance at it. He simply took the contract from the lawyer and signed his name. Vice President Lee practically stomped his foot. "You didn't even read it. What if that woman's tricking you again?" Alex smirked faintly. "Then I deserve to be tricked." He said it just as I happened to be walking past, and I caught Vice President Lee badmouthing me, which made things a little awkward. Alex tossed the signed document to his assistant and shot a cold glance at Vice President Lee. "Say one more word," he said icily, "and I'll have you reassigned to Antarctica." Then he walked over to me, his voice softening as if nothing had happened. "Come on. Let's grab dinner." I slid into the passenger seat, took out a spare copy of the contract, and began walking him through the clauses. But Alex didn't seem to be paying much attention. His gaze drifted toward a narrow alleyway outside, and then he asked suddenly, "Didn't you say you're a bit of a germaphobe?" "Yeah, I guess, a little." "Then we should probably stick to our usual place." At that moment, a comment flashed across my vision. Alex probably wants to take Joanna to his favorite street food spot, but a refined lady like her would definitely find it too low class. I pressed my lips together and said, "I'm tired of the usual. Why don't you take me somewhere you like?" He chuckled. "You'd probably think the places I like are vulgar." I turned to him. "Well, I think you're pretty vulgar too, and I don't mind that." Alex burst out laughing, then stepped on the gas and headed toward the older part of town. His black Bentley stopped at the entrance of a narrow alley. He took my hand and led me to a humble street food stall. Before we sat down, he glanced at me again. "You're sure you want to eat here?" "Yes." I took a seat on a small plastic stool while he quickly placed the order. Despite the stall's appearance, the utensils had been sterilized with boiling water. It was cleaner than I expected. "Did you come here often?" I asked. Alex passed me a bowl and a pair of chopsticks after wiping them down. "Not really," he said, tugging at the corner of his lips. "The first time I ever earned some money from underground fighting, I came here. I was so beaten up, I scared the owner." His tone was casual, but something about it made my heart ache. I'd always known his past was difficult, but not this harsh. Soon, the food arrived, and he placed a portion on my plate. "Try this." The dish was salty and rich, carrying the distinctive scent of street food. I took a bite, then smiled. "It's good." As I ate a few more spoonfuls of rice, Alex asked, "I heard your father's planning to cut ties with you." I nodded. "They all think you've deceived me, that soon, Lee Corporation will fall into your hands and we'll be left with nothing." "It's honestly a miracle I haven't been tricked by you already," he teased. "I won't trick you again," I said. He looked at me, his gaze soft. "Joanna, when you told me you liked me, did you mean it?" I really did," my voice faltered. Alex laughed quietly. "You sound like you're lying." I got annoyed and kicked his leg under the table. "Jerk." He grinned. Now that sounded honest. At that moment, I finally understood what the comments always meant by helplessness, how sometimes, even when the heroine in a novel speaks her heart, it doesn't seem to change a thing. The neighborhood wasn't exactly upscale. At the table next to ours, a few sketchy-looking men showed up, throwing me unfriendly glances. Alex calmly pulled out his wallet, placed some bills on the table, and turned to me. "Stop eating. I'll make you noodles at home." Before I could ask what was going on, he stood, draped his suit jacket over my shoulders, and wrapped his arm around me. His grip tightened slightly. "Just keep walking. don't look back. I could hear the footsteps behind us, fast, shuffling, and deliberate. Those men were following. I tried to walk faster, but Alex suddenly halted. Wait, he said. Something's off. I glanced back, and froze. The men who'd been tailing us had scattered like shadows. But new figures appeared at the mouth of the alley, bigger, broader, and more dangerous looking. Before I could react, Alex stepped in front of me and threw a clean punch that knocked one of them down. A glint of metal flashed in the dark. I gasped. Watch out, they have knives. The sounds of fists colliding with flesh filled the air. Alex turned his head slightly. Go. Hide. I stumbled into a nearby corner, hands trembling as I fumbled to dial the police. But then, one of the men came charging at me, blade in hand. Suddenly, I realized something. This wasn't random. They weren't after him. They were after me. Panicked, I backed away, but the knife was already swinging toward my chest. Before it could strike, Alex appeared behind the man, grabbing him in a chokehold and slamming him to the ground. Run, he yelled at me. I tried, but I didn't get far. In my heels, I tripped and fell flat on the ground. Useless, Alex muttered, walking over slowly. A faint smile played on his lips. Miss, what would you do without me? I looked past him, at the figures sprawled across the alley. Then, I practically crawled into his arms. But as I wrapped my hands around him, I froze. There was something warm and wet on my palm. Sticky. Blood. Alex was bleeding. A lot. His shirt was black, so I hadn't noticed the spreading stain. And then, his knees gave out. He collapsed, taking me down with him. His body had always run hot, like a human furnace. But now? His hands were ice cold. I gripped his hand tightly, my tears falling without restraint. Sobbing like a lost child. After Alex was wheeled out of the operating room, they transferred him to the ICU. The doctor said his vitals were dangerously weak. Just like he had once stayed by my side, I stayed by his now. I wanted to be good to him, make up for everything. But instead, he lay there in a coma for 2 whole months. I started to hate him. I cursed him, cried out loud at his sleeping form. Alex, you idiot. Who told you to risk your life for me? Did I ever ask for that? Weren't you the one who said, if you died, you'd take me with you? So if you go now, alone? I'll never forgive you. Even my own father wants me dead. So why are you still trying to protect me? Just then, a knock interrupted my spiral. I turned toward the door coldly, only to see Vice President Lee. What is it? He hesitated. Miss Lee, those 2 old bastards have been arrested. Not just Lee Corporation, Lou Corporation's done for too. I gave a small nod, emotionless. You can go. He quickly backed out, sensing he'd overstayed. In the comments, I could almost see the scrolling thoughts. VP Lee treats Joanna just like he treats Alex now. He probably realized she's just as terrifying. If Alex doesn't wake up soon, Joanna might steal the title of the most unhinged, love-struck character ever. 2 months ago, the 4 men who stabbed Alex had been sent by my father. Their target was me. As long as I was gone, the company would return to him, clean, whole, and easy to control. I always knew that in his eyes, I was never more important than profit. But I never thought he'd want me dead. He was my only family. But Alex, he was the only one who truly cared. And without him, the world felt unbearably empty. I knew my father had skeletons in his closet. So I lost it. I tore open every secret the company had buried, dragged all his filth into the light. And when the Lee family crumbled, the Liu family, who'd always been closely tied to us, fell too. Now, people from South City to North City wanted me dead. I leaned down beside Alex, whispering, now it's not just my dad, even the Liu family's after me. So, how about it? Wake up and protect me already. If you keep ignoring me, I'm really done for. My eyes grew heavy. Drowsy. And in that hazy state, I felt a warm hand stroke my hair. I opened my eyes. Alex was looking at me. I jumped up and hit the call button to get the doctor. But he gently grabbed my wrist, like he had something to say. I leaned in close. If you died, would you want to be buried with me? His voice was raspy, quiet. And just like that, after 2 months of endless rain, South City finally saw its first ray of sunlight. Alex was out of danger. A few days later, they moved him to a normal room. I sat by his bed, peeling an apple. He lounged against the headboard, smiling lazily. Why not just hand me the whole thing? If you keep peeling, there'll be nothing left but the stem. I shot him a glare, but didn't stop. Eat it or not, your choice. Oh, I will, he said, taking a bite and raising a brow. VP Lee told me you went a little insane while I was out. I forced a smile. I lost my mind trying to avenge you. And in the end, I lost the company too. Now I've got nothing. So hurry up and get better, go earn me some money to repay your debt. Alex chuckled. Still recovering, and you're already putting me to work? Have some compassion. I shook my head. Nope. I'm a horrible person. If you regret saving me, it's not too late to say so. I don't regret it, he said softly, lips curled into a faint smile. If it's with you, I'd gladly suffer for the rest of my life. Is that a confession from Alex? Just say, I love you, already, you emotionally constipated villain. Villain romances are so chaotic, and I love it. After the Liu family declared bankruptcy, Thomas fled overseas with the little he had left. Emily wanted to follow him, but her own mother tied her up and sold her to another rich man. One day, while I was out shopping, I ran into her again. She walked straight up to me, eyes red, voice trembling. Joanna. I've separated from Thomas. I'm stuck with someone I don't even like. Do you know how awful my life is? She always had that look, fragile, pitiful, like the whole world owed her something. I gave her a cold glance. If you don't like it, leave. What's that got to do with me? She shook her head. He won't let me go. Or my mother. Joanna, you've gone after so many people, but you spared me. We're sisters by blood, can't you help me? I almost laughed. She wasn't even resisting. Why should I bother? Do I look like a good person to you? I asked. I didn't touch you because you weren't worth the effort. And if he won't let you go, maybe call the police? But if you keep pestering me, I'll be the one calling them. Later, I heard the rich man dumped her after their engagement. Thomas, on the other hand, made it big overseas and returned home. Alex worried Thomas might seek revenge, so he kept me under tight watch. But to our surprise, Thomas no longer cared about me. The one he wanted revenge on was Emily. Apparently, he lured her back to the old Liu family estate and locked her in the basement. A week later, when he let his guard down, she escaped and flagged down a stranger to call the police. When they found her, she was battered, barely alive. It was said that while she lay in the hospital, her mother took a bribe and wrote a letter of forgiveness for Thomas. But for once, Emily didn't play the victim. She cut ties with her mother, and insisted on pressing charges. When things seemed hopeless, a top lawyer suddenly appeared to help her. She won the case. Thomas went to prison. I was curled up against Alex's chest, watching TV. He looked down at me, laughing. His chest rumbled under my cheek. Miss, do you have to tear my clothes off every time? He teased. Do you have some kind of fetish? I took a bite of the peach he handed me. Only way to get a moment of peace. Apparently, in this novel world, any scene below the collarbone would get drowned in censorship comments. This was the only way to shut them up. By the way, Alex said, the lawyer who helped Emily, wasn't he your high school classmate? I shrugged. Maybe I just felt like doing one good deed. Alex hugged me tighter, his chin grazing the top of my head. Then, could you do one more good deed? I looked up. What is it? He didn't answer. Instead, he went inside and changed into a white shirt. He rarely wore white, but when he did, it gave him this unapproachable glow. That face of his was already too handsome. This made it worse. My heart skipped a beat. He stepped toward me, eyes lowered, his voice serious. When I woke up, he said, I asked if, when you died, you'd want to be buried with me. I blinked, confused. Then the scrolling comments flooded my view. Wait. Is he proposing? Bro, you could have led with that. I'm crying. Our villain couple is endgame. I wasn't sure if I was moved or furious. With tears in my eyes, I punched him in the chest. Idiot. Who proposes like that? Alex just laughed, catching my hand and kissing the back of it gently. Then, without a word, he slipped a diamond ring onto my finger. I froze. You're not even going to ask if I want to? His smile deepened. I already know you do. The screen exploded with, happily. Ever. After. So Thomas and Emily weren't the main couple after all. We got a perfect villain romance ending. But unlike before, when Alex leaned down to kiss me, the screen didn't fill with comments. It was just us. That long, lingering kiss seemed to stretch on forever. His fingers brushed my cheeks, tucking my hair behind my ear as he gazed at me through the soft light. What are you thinking about? He whispered. I breathed softly. I'm thinking, from now on, the story is just you and me. He smiled, stroking my hair. Then what should we do next? I wrapped my arms around his neck, stood on tiptoe, and kissed him again. He pulled me down onto the couch. Outside, the rain tapped gently against the windows. The air turned warm, the dampness slowly evaporating. My vision blurred in the heat. And in the silence of the night, there was only rain, breath, and heartbeat. Alex gently wiped away the tears at the corners of my eyes, his lips brushing my ear. There's something I think I forgot to say, he whispered. Joanna, I love you. I always have.